Hello. I f 23 have been married to my husband m 26 for a year. I'm in my last year of university and been so busy for the last 2 weeks, with many projects and finals looming. My husband complains from seeing me studying and not doing activities together or hanging out with friends anymore. I've told him it's not gonna last forever and that I need to focus because this is my last year and it's been the hardest. The day before the exam he wanted me to go with him to a friend's birthday party. I refused because I was busy preparing for my exam. He pleaded with me saying it's just 1 hour and talked about how his friends will be upset if I'm not there. I said no and shut down any further discussions. He got upset and called me selfish and inconsiderate but then dropped it. Before I went to bed, I set my alarm clock like I always do since I'm a heavy sleeper plus I stayed up late studying. The next morning I woke up at 9 a.m. I literally freaked out and checked my alarm and found that it was set to go off at 9:30 a.m. I had no idea how this happened till my husband told me he did this to repay me for refusing to take one hour to attend the party, so he took this hour from my time. I couldn't believe it. I absolutely blew up at him, just yelling and screaming at him left and right. He just stood there shocked from my reaction and my rage. I got dressed quickly and rushed to the university. They didn't let me into the exam hall. I got into a lot of hassle to get them to reschedule the exam, especially since I had no legit reason as to why I was late. It was awful is all I can say. I went home and my husband and I stopped speaking to each other. He kept acting as if I hurt his feelings and traumatized him by yelling. And that I deserve what he did since he was frustrated with my continual refusal to attend all events for the past 2 weeks. I might be wrong for not considering it, but I think that my exams should be a priority and his way of teaching me a lesson was not right. I am 37, have been with my fiancée F37 for 2 years. We're getting married soon. I've only met her family a couple of times. My daughter Judy F16 has never met them till very recently, where they hosted dinner to celebrate 4th of July, and that's when they met her for the first time. Judy has a visible burn scar on her forehead. It was due to an accident she was in when she was 9. She used TKB, incredibly insecure about it. To the point where I was forced to homeschool her, and it was hard trying to deal with and navigate through this rough time. Now she's doing a lot better, though some comments can really cause her to become stressed out and anxious. My fiancé knows all that and respects it. Before we went to her parents' house, I asked her to tell them about Judy and her struggle and get to try and not say anything negative about it or possibly mention it. She said she would guarantee no one will say anything. We got to the event and they talked to Judy and she slowly warmed up to them. Everything was going well till I was dinner time. My FML looked at Judy while she was eating and pointed at her scar, basically asking questions about it, which made Judy lose her appetite and start to get uncomfortable. I kept sending my fiancée and her mom signs to knock it off, but to no avail. Finally, FML then brought up the wedding and asked my fiancé if it'd be possible to Photoshop the scar out of any wedding photos that will have Judy in them, just in case they distract viewers. I was dumbfounded. Fiancé said nothing, just stared casually while nodding. I looked at Judy and it was clear this got to her. I leaned closer and asked if she was feeling uncomfortable and that we could leave if the answer was yes. She took her time, then nodded and said yes, I'm feeling uncomfortable right now. I got up and told her to get ready cause we were leaving. My fiancé, her mom and the family started insisting we finish dinner and stay, but I refused. I took Judy and got in the car and left before even talking to my fiancé. Obviously, she was pissed. She called and was angry, talking about how I disrespected her parents by taking Judy and leaving in the middle of dinner and not even saying goodbye. I told her that Judy was feeling uncomfortable with FML's comments and questions. She said Judy overreacted and is in need to go back to therapy if a simple mention of her scar caused her to react that way. I got tired of arguing and asked her to give us some time, but she went on me and said that I have no respect for her and her family and that what I did was irrational, and now she won't speak to me till I clear things up with her family after ruining their celebratory dinner. So I'm an engineer and I'm working on a team with 7 decently chill guys and 1 guy with anger issues. Like, he can't just have a respectful disagreement, he'll raise his voice and yell and get up close to your face. I hate it. So I started by just complaining to my boss about it. And he brushed it under the rug, saying he is just like that. And if I thought he was bad now, I should have seen him 10 years ago before he mellowed out. It makes me wonder what he was like 10 years ago, because he sure ain't mellow now. It's also a small enough company that there's no HR, only the corporate management. Which didn't help. So I took a different approach. I stopped calling him angry, or calling what he was doing arguing or yelling. I just swapped in the words emotional or throwing a tantrum or having a fit. I was kinda hoping if I could shift his reputation from domineering, big man vibes, to emotional and tantruming, weak sad baby vibes. So I started just making subtle comments. Like if I had a meeting with him and he got a temper, I'd mention to the other people, wow, it's crazy how emotional Jay got. I dunno how he has the energy to throw a hissy fit at 9 AM, I'm barely awake. Or when my boss asked me to recap a meeting he missed, I told him Dan, Jack, and James had some really great feedback on my report for this client. Jay kinda had trouble managing his emotions and had a temper tantrum again, but you know how he gets. Or when a coworker asked why he was yelling, I'd say honestly I don't even know, he was getting so emotional about it he wasn't speaking rationally. I tried to drop it in subtly and some of my coworkers started picking it up. I don't think consciously, just saying stuff like oh, another of Jay's fits or something. I got gutsy enough to even start saying to his face, hey, I can hardly understand what you're trying to explain when you're so emotional. And again my coworkers started picking up on it and I even caught several of them telling him to get a hold of himself. After a while, he started to get a reputation as emotional and irrational. Which I could tell pissed him off. But he stopped yelling at me as much. Anyway, he slipped once this week and I just said I really can't talk to you when you're being this emotional, and he blew up at me asking why I was always calling him that. I shrugged and said, dude, you look like you are on the verge of tears, go look in the mirror before you ask me, and he got really angry. I suggested he might start crying. That was a kind of flippant comment, he was red-faced angry, not tearful angry, and I could tell. I feel like a bit of a dick for being petty and trying to gaslight this guy into thinking everyone around him sees him like a crybaby. But it also mostly worked when the proper channels didn't. Ada for calling my coworker emotional when he got mad. When I, 37M, was 17, got my then girlfriend, 16, pregnant with twin boys. Her parents didn't want the babies to ruin her future, so they said that I had to either take them or give them up for adoption because she was not raising them. I wanted to give them up, but my parents told me not to. For the first 7 years of my boys' lives, I didn't act like a father and was more like a big brother. They knew I was their father though, but we never bonded like father-sons. When I was ready to move out, I wanted to do it without them, but my dad let me know it was my responsibility, so I had to take them. I didn't want it at first, but I am glad it happened. We started bonding as father-sons. I started loving them and their love for me increased. I remember the three of us would sit on the couch to watch movies. One would sit on my left and one on my right while I wrapped my arms around them. They'd put their heads on my chest and I often kissed their forehead. We've been doing this since they were 7. I met my current wife 5 years ago. My kids were 15. We married 3 years ago after we welcomed our daughter, 4F. She saw me doing this with my kids when we watched movies and she never said anything. My kids are no longer living with us because they left for college, but they come to see me every now and then. My boys are 20 now, but they still like to put their heads on my chest while I wrap my arms around them. They do it every time they visit and I am watching TV. My son, Liam, visited me 2 weeks ago. He came out to me as gay and introduced me to his BF. I don't care how my kids live their sexuality or who they love. I love them no matter what. I just want them to be happy and I don't feel any different, and it doesn't make me feel uncomfortable to hug him or kiss his forehead, but it seems that my wife is a little uncomfortable. My son visited me again last Wednesday, since he was here 2 weeks ago, so the first time officially out, I was watching Red with my daughter. She was on my left, then my son Liam arrived. He was tired and sat on my right, put his head on my shoulder while I wrapped my arm around him, then I kissed his forehead and said, "Good to have you back, buddy." We went to sleep and the next day my wife told me that it made her feel uncomfortable, me hugging and kissing my son, and asked me not to do it again while she doesn't mind me doing it with Lucas, my other son, straight. She doesn't want me to do it with Liam. I told her that she has no business being in my relationship with my sons. I also called her homophobic. She accused me of not treating her like an equal parent to my sons, thus I said that's okay because you are not. My brother says I should understand because this is a big change for her, a son coming out, but seriously think there is nothing to get used to. This isn't neither her nor my problem who my son loves. Am I in the wrong? My future soul Liz has turned into a bridezilla and is going to war with everyone over every stupid thing. My natural color is red. I love my hair. Liz is a blonde but she loves to have red hair, and in fact ever since meeting me she's been dyeing her hair almost exactly my color. I don't mind. I think it's weird that she does it, but I don't have a monopoly over this particular shade of red and she's free to do with her hair whatever she wants. Well, she asked me this week that I should dye my hair to a different color because she wants her hair to be unique in her wedding. She offered to cover all the costs as well. I just said no because it's my hair, I don't want it changed. I told my brother and he told me to do whatever I want because it's my hair. He said he'll talk to Liz to get her to back off. Well, it didn't work because Liz has come to my parents and they've taken her side. They say it's her special day and we need to be more accommodating and it's important for our future relationship that we get along. I believe I am accommodating. She can do whatever she wants with her own hair. How is my hair any of her business anyway? My parents tell me that I should be the bigger person. I don't know why an 18-year-old should be the bigger person compared to the 27-year-old Liz. They told me I'm making this minor issue into a big problem and I should just do what she wants because it's her wedding. Ada for not giving in. www.reddit.com web link. After posting this I received messages expressing concern and advice, so I thought I'd update about how things turned out. The morning after this incident my partner got out of bed when the kids did and took the older girls out for breakfast. Later I asked him if he'd be willing to read the thread and he agreed. He was very subdued afterwards, and didn't say much except for agreeing that he was nah. The next day he took off work and saw his GP, started on antidepressants, and we had a long talk. He was ashamed by how he was acting and to see strangers comparing him to children. He cried when realized how much he was letting everyone down, especially his daughters who will grow up thinking this is normal behavior. He confirmed that this all started when we lived with his parents a few years back. He left home at 17 to get away from his mother, and she told him he'd fail as men need a woman to look after them. He felt like a failure, so it was easy for his mother to feed him other ideas, and she would also manipulate the things I did to look like he was incompetent as a person, e.g. I'd tell him to relax and I'd handle the dishes, and his mother twisted it into me thinking he was incompetent, so he should just stop helping at all. He'd wake up feeling useless, and she managed to convince him that he was unhappy because I wasn't taking care of him the way a wife should. He decided to got no contact with her, which didn't go well. She cried and told him he was a horrible son for abandoning his mother, and that I was trying to control him by forcing him to do it. He blocked her, but she just used different numbers to continue calling him. After a week or so he ended up changing his number, and we haven't heard from his family since. He brought up that he was unhappy at work as it wasn't stimulating enough, but he felt like he couldn't leave. I offered to pick up some part-time work but he said no. He talked to his boss and took some time off, and eventually quit. He spoke to my dad, who used some connections and got him a good job at his company. The new job is a primarily work-from-home position, so he is able to help with the girls more and has more free time. He is able to take the girls to school and watch them play while he works, which they all enjoy. Before he started the new job he booked a trip for us to go to the snow for a week. We had a blast and it was lovely to see him relaxed and happy and enjoying our girls and life. He's promised to be more honest about how he's feeling and our relationship has improved immensely. Thank you for everyone who gave judgment and advice, as he says it really helped him see things more clearly, especially the toxic relationship with his mother.